It seems like it just moves in a very certain way, and it's all connected to each other in some way that we're, as human beings, just sort of starting to understand.
Well, there is a theory that says that the Big Bang went in a direction compatible to life, and that other universes may not be compatible with life. They may be lifeless collections of electrons and neutrinos, for example, but our universe is special. Our universe has stable protons, out of which you could create atoms, out of which you could create DNA, out of which you can create people. How many universes have that property? So string theory, for example, gives you other universes which are probably dead universes, universes which have no life. But our universe has stable protons, stable DNA, stable forms of life. So our universe is rare. So this is called the anthropic principle, the feeling that our life is not random. Our universe is special. Our universe is special in the sense that it didn't have to have life, but it does. And life in a spectacular array of diversity. So our universe really is special.
You're watching an astrophysicist confront Joe Rogan with what seems like powerful reason to believe in God. And it literally leaves Joe Rogan speechless. We're going to get to that big clip toward the end. You've got to see it. But first, we've got to set things up. Watch this.
But is it special because we don't know of any other universes?
Yeah, but the other universes that we played with, mathematically speaking, are not compatible with life. Stars burn out too quickly. Galaxies simply fall apart. Protons disintegrate. It's very hard to create a universe which is stable. So some people think that our universe is special among all the different kinds of universes, that our universe is unique because it's compatible with stable protons and DNA.
But it's hard for most people to even grasp the concept of other types of universes or other universes, period, or the fact there may be an infinite number of universes.
Well, that's the multiverse. String theory probably has an infinite number of possible universes. We are probably the only one that has life in them. We're not sure about that, of course. But these other universes are collections of dead subatomic particles, a mist, a floating mist of dead subatomic particles that don't do anything. If the proton were not stable, then our universe also would be like that. Our universe would disintegrate almost instantly. The fact that our proton is stable is quite remarkable.
Do you believe that that's unusual?
Unusual. In fact, maybe unique. There are probably very few universes with stable protons. You see, string theory gives you many, many diverse solutions. So we can actually look at these other alternate universes, and we see that they're not compatible with life.
And why do you think that? But if the proton is stable here, what would it be about these other universes? Like, what qualities would they possess where it wouldn't be stable there?
Everything would decay down to electrons and neutrinos. So it would be a gas, a cloud of electrons and neutrinos, which are the lowest state of matter. You can't get any lower than an electron and neutrino. That's the lowest state. So these universes would basically disintegrate. They would fall apart into a cloud of neutrinos and electrons. Our universe has stable protons, out of which you can create elements, out of which you could create DNA, out of which you can create life. That's a miracle.
Now we're coming up on that moment where Rogan is left speechless. But first, it's a miracle, the scientist says. It's really rare. Now this is not some clip-on tie wearing, red-faced, leather-lunged, Bible-thumping preacher in a pulpit somewhere. This is an astrophysicist saying these things about the fine-tuning of the universe for life. Now he mentioned something there called the anthropic principle. The fact that, well, of course we're really impressed with all this. We're the ones who are the happy recipients who were lucky enough to be here. So of course we're going to see some design in it. At least that's how some atheists paint it. But think about what we're saying here. As the authors of the book A Privileged Planet said, if 10 sharpshooters, the world's best, were lined up to perform capital punishment and shoot at this guy who's chained to a stake, if after they all take their shot, the bullets just line the outline of the guy and he isn't killed, of course he's going to see some conspiracy, some agreement between the shooters, some design in what's going on. And it wouldn't be compelling in the least to say, well, you know, given enough sharpshooters, this is bound to happen sometime. No, there's design in it. And he would be reasonable to conclude that, just like we are about life being permitted in this universe. As the scientist said, it's a miracle. Now stay with me because we're approaching that moment where Rogan is left speechless.
So it's just because of these calculations that you've done where it says if the universe had different properties, you would think that this is rare.
Very rare.
Because there's so many other possibilities
That's
of how
right.
the universe could.
If stars burnt out more quickly, for example, because the nuclear force was stronger, stars would never ignite. If the nuclear force were weaker, stars would never form to begin with. If gravity were too strong, we would have had a big crunch and we'd all die in a gigantic fireball. If gravity were too weak, we'd all freeze to death because we would have a big crunch, a big freeze. So all the parameters of the universe are tuned just right to allow for life.
Wow.
Now, there's two ways of looking at it. One way that some physicists have proposed is that we are the crowning achievement. We are the only universe that's stable, that has life, that has the diversity that creates life. The other possibility is that there are just lots of dead universes, and we just won the crapshoot.
Doesn't that possibility jive more with the state of the universe as we understand it? Because we're always looking for these Goldilocks planets, which are very rare, which may inhabit life or may have life on it. But we look at our own solar system, and there's just us.
In other words, there could be a Goldilocks zone for universes.
Yes,
The
just like there is
Goldilocks
for
zone
planets.
for solar systems, of course, is the
Yeah.
Earth is not too far from the sun, not too close. But we could be in the Goldilocks zone of possible universes. And that's why we're here today to talk about it.
So, but there also could be an infinite number of universes like ours, and also an infinite number of universes that are completely incompatible for life.
That's right.
And Rogan is speechless. I think Ruslan pointed out about this, that it really looks like after this, Joe Rogan wants to change the subject and ask the guy, so what do you do for hobbies? Because maybe he's getting a little too uncomfortable with this goddish conversation. But notice that they mentioned an infinite number of universes. If there was an infinite number, we're not talking about just a lot of universes, or like infinite, like we might say the grains of sand on the beach are infinite. They're not really infinite. There's a number of grains of sand on the beach. And if you're saying there's an infinite number of universes, you're literally saying there isn't a number. It's limitless. And in a state like that, okay, maybe you have an actual infinite number of universes where it seems designed for life. The problem with this is I have a real problem with the notion of an actual infinite of this sort, like of universes. How do you get an infinite number of universes? You can't get there by adding one universe after the other, because adding like that, one after the other, will never get you to infinity. There'll always be a number you can assign to that. You just can't get an infinite, and you result in all of these weird ideas. Like, for example, if you had an infinite library where every other book is red and every other book is black, but it's an infinite number of red and black books. If you removed all the red books so that all that's left are black books, how many would you have now? You'd still have infinite. These sorts of absurdities lead some of us to conclude that actual infinites of this sort don't really exist. So you can't have an infinite number of universes. So you're back to the really small, really rare situation the scientists gave us. This is why Psalm 19:1 says the heavens declare the glory of God and the sky above his handiwork. Now, if this is the only video you see, you're going to miss out on the other side of this, which is the beginning of the universe and how that points to reason to believe. And so for that, click the video that's on the screen now. I'd love it if you'd like and comment what you think about this video and subscribe.